Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 online action. We're going to forego the usual intro because this battle is kicking off right away. As you can see, we've got a full Vanguard Gobbo force taking on the Dwarves today. Goblin Great Shaman is going to be the Lord. For his spells, we've got Sneaky Stabbin', Itchy Nuisance, and Curse the Bad Moon. In the front line, we've got a line of Night Gobbos, both the Regiments of Renown, as well as 3 Night Goblin Fanatics. Of course, the AP Gloonies also have Fanatics. 4 units of Nasty Skulkers with the Goblin Firing Line, 2 units of Night Goblin Archers with the Rusty Airs. Out to the flanks, we have 4 units of Squig Hoppers. We've also got a Night Goblin Big Boss. So, just for those of you who are curious, we're going to actually pause the battle for just a moment here as we take a look at a few things. This guy is where my original deployment zone is, and this front line is more or less where the edge of the Vanguard deployment zone is. So we've been able to gain this much space even before the battle starts just by bringing a primarily Vanguard Goblin list. So against the Dwarfs, considering they kind of get their bread and butter with artillery oftentimes, I've immediately negated one of my opponent's advantages, which is these 2 units of cannons he has, backed up by 2 Slayers. We've got the Grumbling Guard, a unit of Dwarf Warriors with great weapons, Rangers, Longbeards. Front line is going to be Dwarf Warriors. He's got a Rune Lord and 2 Rune Smiths. Looks like Runes of Wrath and Ruin all around. So yeah, let's go ahead and kick the battle now, and we'll watch what happens. You can see probably from the battle replay timer how this is going to go, but let's soak up some of this cinematic action as these Gobbos come in. And yeah, holy cow, those dwarfs got awful bright all of a sudden for some reason, and that's actually an interesting bug. But at the end of the day, we're going to be targeting these 3 units right on the Grumbling Guard here. They're obviously a high priority target in the center. And then once this mainline engagement really kicks off, we're going to unleash the Fanatics all across the main line here. You can see Squig Hoppers coming in the back line. Even despite the Slayers here, we're still going to get in here to try and shut down these cannons as quickly as possible. The sheets of fire coming in, just doing a ton of damage to this Grumbling Guard, despite the armor buffs there. And again, from this flank, just going to be collapsing hard with the Nasty Skulkers, all that jazz. But you can see all down the line, we're going to be surfing off each unit of Gobbos just down the line, the Fanatics, and just doing a crazy amount of damage to the Longbeards and the Dwarf Warriors in the front line. Probably doing a little bit of friendly fire as well to some of these units. You can see that Gobbo in the center actually got routed between all the friendly fire and the Rune of Wrath and Ruin there, but just look how much damage was done to the front line from those Fanatics. Now the Skulkers are coming in with the other Gobbos, going to be cleaning things up in the back line, and again, just sheets of fire coming in here. Grumbling Guard have just been absolutely decimated. These Rangers also routed off at this point, so Dwarf Force is suffering pretty badly here. You can see Dwarf Warriors with great weapons being routed off. Again, the cannon crew being routed off. Dwarf Warriors in the front line crumbling. There is this 1 unit of Longbeards pushing through into the back line, going to be getting on the Rusty Airs with the heroic core of the Dawi units here. But at this point, balance power has turned pretty set badly against the Dwarfs. Most of the units here in the back line are routing, and just mostly the Slayers holding things up, and then the heroic core here. And at that, the Dwarf player does admit defeat, probably a little bit prematurely, in my opinion. You could have stayed to fight that a little bit longer. With that sturdy of a heroic core, it would have taken me quite a while to get through them. I probably would have been able to, just because I crushed his actual army so quickly. But yeah, figured you guys would be interested to see that one, despite the fact that it was so short. We're going to be tossing another battle replay after this one, because at this point, this video is still less than 4 minutes. So yeah. In terms of the breakdown here, for what there is of a breakdown, I mean, you can see Light Goblins with Fanatics initially looked like they got a lot more kills, but this one in particular got 25, which is pretty solid. You can see some of the Skulkers, 71 on these guys. Man, they came in from the flank and just cleaned things up here. The heroic squad for my army didn't have to do much. It would have been a little bit of a late game slog there, just continuously spamming the Sneaky Stabbin' on the big boss, trying to assassinate the Rune Smiths and the Rune Lord, but we probably would have been able to do it. So the Squig Hoppers also came in from the flank and did some really nice damage, and of course that firing line just gunning down the Grumbling Guard, who themselves only got 3 kills. You can see all my opponent's infantry. I mean, this Longbeard definitely broke through the front line without too much issue, and that's one of the reasons why I say my opponent maybe quit a little bit prematurely. He still had these Longbeards and the 2 units of Slayers holding out. Granted, I had pretty much broken the rest of his army, but still, fun battle at the end of the day. A nice quick one. So let's go ahead and get into the second battle here. So you can you can tell straight off it's going to be Lizardmen versus Skaven. I've got Krokar on a cold one, no Carnosaur for him. We've also got a Skink Chief Lord of Heavens, or Skink Priest Lord of Heavens rather, and a Skink Chief, 3 Saurus Warriors, 2 Temple Guard with triple bronze chevrons, 4 units of Skink MLG Javelins, and 2 Skink Skirmishers with a Revivification Crystal, of course. Good old Gary the Revivification Crystal, bringing it home. We're going to be up against Lord Skrulk with 2 Plague Furnaces, a couple of Skaven Slaves, and a mix of Clan Rat Spears and Swords, 3 Plague Monks, and 4 Rat Ogres. So definitely going to be in for a good time. The map is going to be Hellfen, so my Skink units will be getting their aquatics bonuses if they're standing in the swampy areas. That is one thing to make a note of on this map, but yeah. You can see the Skaven Rush army arrayed before us, and one of the issues with this Skaven army, probably its biggest issue, is it has no ranged units whatsoever, which means my Skink Chief buddy here, I can take him off fire at will, take him off guard mode, and just stick him to Skrulk. We're going to give him an attack order to fire at Lord Skrulk, and just let him work him down over the course of the battle. So essentially, because my opponent doesn't have any way of countering this Skink Chief, he has no ranged units to speak of whatsoever, there's nothing that he can really do to counter this. I'm essentially going to be putting Lord Skrulk on a timer. Once, you know, the Skink Chief is able to fire at him enough times, he'll be taking him down. So it's a matter of if the Skaven Rush can break through my army before Lord Skrulk gets taken down, because again, there's nothing that my opponent can really do to counter this. He's just going to have to sit there and take it. You can see Lord Skrulk starting to take those poison javelins. Hasn't taken too much damage so far, but there a nice hit comes in. And, I mean, it will take some time, don't get me wrong, to work through Lord Skrulk. He has quite a bit of HP for a nice little infantry character, about 3,000, but still. You can see the main line engagement not quite getting underway. I'm hesitant to try and use my javelins here, but a little bit of missed micro by me leaving these guys on fire at will. We're going to be wasting quite a few javelins into these Skaven Slaves, which is definitely not an efficient use of ammunition. We definitely want to be using the ammunition on Rat Ogres in particular. In this army will be the best target to shoot at. You can see up through the main line, Clan Rat's going to be clashing with Saurus Warriors. Obviously, this is going to go very well for the Saurus Warriors, but it does look like my opponent dropped a Wither there to bring those Saurus down to 30 armor, and the Plague Furnace itself going to be rolling up, getting that anti-infantry armor piercing and the drain effect going. The Temple Guard, though, have been hit by that Revivification Crystal and are just mopping up in the front line. I mean, the Clan Rats just won't be able to touch them. The Plague Monks might do a little bit of damage with their anti-infantry bonus, but even still, you can see Gary scything in from the side, getting some nice damage done, doing his old battering ram thing. And yeah, I mean, the Skink Javelins will do some damage to the Rat Ogres. Obviously, once the Rat Ogres get into combat, it's going to be a different story, but the Saurus Warriors matching up very well against Clan Rats. And Krokar, we were going to take him over to this side to counter this Plague Furnace, but I figured, you know what, I already have a bit of an advantage on this side. Let's go through and try and clean up the Plague Furnace over on this side. So we popped the charge bonus buffs and everything else on Krokar here, and he's going to be trying to hunt down this, this nasty rat cart. Fortunately, because of the animations, it makes it tough for Krokar to get in attack animations, but when he does, he'll definitely do a lot of damage there. Meanwhile, in the mainline fight, Skrulk, you can see, is just continuing to take that fire. Every time that Skink Chief shoots in, he's going to be doing more and more damage to Lord Skrulk. And, I mean, the Plague Rat is fighting his best here, but he's going to be taking damage over time. Really nice Plague Breath going down there. I have been dropping some spells. Ooh, it looks like, yep, here comes a Chain Lightning from the Skink Chief here. So let's see how this Chain Lightning does. Actually moves straight up through the Skaven lines and just kind of parks right on top of these Plague Monks here. It looks like it did a little bit of damage to the Temple Guard as well, but doing a ton of damage to those Skaven units and getting them low enough leadership that they actually get terror routed by good old Gary there. So very favorable situation for me. Meanwhile, Krokar is fighting pretty much solo in this huge pocket of Skaven here, just soloing all the rats, not caring at all. Looks like there are a few Skinks actually mixed in here still, but yeah, Skinks firing in from the side, doing a little bit of damage to the Rat Ogres. Definitely will be able to do some work over time. Yeah, you can see Lord Skrulk has routed. Again, just putting him on a timer with that Skink Chief because my opponent didn't bring any ranged units to counter me. So Lord Skrulk's going to go down here, and there's really nothing he can do, unfortunately. So Lord Skrulk goes down, so the nasty Plague Rat is down, and with that, the balance power is going to shift. It's still pretty close, all things considered, but a very nice Wind Blast scything through there, just doing a ton of damage to those Clan Rat Spears. The Skink Priest up to 36 kills so far, And yeah, you can see Krokar trying to close the distance here. He will do a lot of damage to this Plague Furnace, obviously, with his armor-piercing anti-large. Just a matter of time to work through it, and also the Rat Ogre's getting terrified away by Gary. Oh, come on, guys. Gary is nice, I promise. I mean, he might be a giant murderous dinosaur, but really, he just wants to give you a big hug, I promise. But, yeah, you can see the Temple Guard also helping in that endeavor as well. Now that Skrulk's done with, we're going to focus the Skink Chief's fire, the rest of his ammunition, on this other Plague Priest here. You can see the Temple Guard pushing through, not really too much to challenge them at this point, but yeah, this Plague Furnace, every hit that he takes from these Temple Guard is going to do a lot of damage, so he definitely does not want to stand in this fight. Unfortunately, he doesn't really have a choice at this point. You can see the bounce power starting to shift more and more in my favor. A little bit of a Skaven rally pushing through. Looks like they're going to be getting quite a few of their troops together, but at this point there's just so many Lizardmen left, quite a few healthy units of Saurus. The Revivification Crystal is also perfectly healthy, and Krokar himself going to be coming in like a true champ, taking down this Plague Furnace. So, well played to my opponent. Hope you guys enjoyed watching. Quick little double cast there, and oh man, that Hand of the Gods, only about half the missiles actually made contact there, but Krokar coming in like the true champ that he is, going to win the day. So, fun couple of battles. I know it was a couple quick ones there, but I figured you guys would want to see that all Gobbo Vanguard, you know, kind of how to beat Dwarf player in less than 2 minutes. Now, granted, that Dwarf player was right up against the line, but anyway, in terms of this battle breakdown here, you can see both units of both units of Temple Guard were able to rack up another XP chevron over the course of the battle, despite already having 3 to begin with. Skinks all around did some pretty decent work. Saurus, as you would expect, cleaning up a whole bunch of rats, and Gary, the clutch terror bombing, with Krokar taking down the Plague Furnaces. So overall, definitely worked out well for me. For my opponent, I mean, you need at least one ranged unit to counter Skink Chief if you're going to bring Lord Skrulk, because he's pretty squishy to ranged attacks, especially the Skink Chief on a Pterodon. I mean, you have to have at least like one unit of Gutter Runners, even something like a unit of Slingers, you know, even like Slave Slingers. They'll take some time, but you can at least apply a little bit of missile pressure to the Skink Chief. If you take... rather than going with the double Plague Furnace, what I like to do is take a single Plague Furnace, and then you can still get a drain effect from the... if we take a look here, from the Warlock Engineer, he has this Warpstone armor. So I don't know exactly the drain effects, and I would need to compare them side by side to see how much damage they actually drain. My gut instinct tells me that this Warpstone armor isn't quite as powerful as the Plague effect from the Plague Furnace, but the nice thing about this guy is you can also bring the Howling Warp Gale, so you can freeze that Skink Chief in place and then use something like a unit of Gutter Runners. You know, if you have Warp Lightning Cannon or Poison Wind Globadiers, any of those things can be used to help deal with them. So you lock them in place with the Howling Warp Gale and then shoot at them, and then you can still bring the one Plague Furnace for the drain effect, but then you also get the drain effect of the Warpstone armor from this guy, so you get the one spell to pin in place flying units, and the Warpstone armor makes him a very useful tool. And then you can take Lord Skrulk with his complement of spells. In that particular matchup, I think these two are the ones you want to go with. Pestilent Birth is tempting, but you know, Plague Bugs don't do as well against Lizardmen as you would probably hope. You probably want to go with maybe a couple of Storm Vermin with Halberds. It's a tough matchup, don't get me wrong. The Lizardmen have a lot of healing, so you're going to need to oftentimes take down the Dino Lords maybe once or twice, 3 times even. So, yeah. It's a tough matchup, definitely, but I do think that it would have been beneficial for my opponent to have at least one ranged unit and this Howling Warp Gale to take down that Skink Chief. But let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments down below. Hope you guys enjoyed watching this pair of battles. If you do like this kind of content, be sure to like, subscribe, all that jazz. Thanks for watching once again, and we'll see you next time.